Hello and welcome to Eclesion's interview series. Today's guest is Daniel Hall from Jenito Games. Thanks for coming to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm really excited about being here and looking forward to answering your questions about MicroTale.
Would you mind introducing yourself to our viewers and tell us how you started developing games? Maybe something about your time in Japan, your past projects, and are you working alone?
Well, as you've already mentioned, my name's Daniel Hall. You can see my work over at www.jenito.com. And how did I start developing video games? Well, I think I started mentally developing them when I started playing them, which is just as a very young child. You know, I played Super Mario Bros. 3 and all that good stuff. Lots of Mega Man. Man, I loved Mega Man when I was a kid. Final Fantasy. Tons of games that I would goof around with. Lots of Nintendo products. Lots of PC games. You know, the good stuff. Blake Stone. Things like that. Played lots of computer games. And over the years, just had a lot of exposure to it. My brother was actually the first person in my family to start doing some basic game programming. And I picked it up from him, and during my teen years, I'd play with it on and off. And that ended up turning into something fairly serious for me. I tried a couple of serious projects that didn't really go anywhere, and I think a big part of it was a lack of really understanding the business world and a lack of understanding public relations and things like that. So ended up a couple years ago going to Japan and being an English teacher for about 15 months. As you asked about that, I was there and taught a lot of English and was around a lot of video games. And while I was there, I started developing just some little projects and really learning a lot, I felt, about just the way games are made and some things about distribution and working in a Japanese company, learning about workflow and making flowcharts and plans and everything. So when I got back about 6 months ago, I decided I'd really sit down and seriously pursue making a game, and that's how MicroTale was born. The last thing you asked me about there was if I'm working alone, and I am. I've used some free resources. I have had some people approach me about maybe helping with this or that, and I really appreciate it, and I've thought about getting some help. I think MicroTale is so far along at this point that the game's pretty much done. So MicroTale, I don't think I'm going to get the chance to collaborate with anybody, but hopefully future projects, I'll have more people helping me and doing things. But everything you see in MicroTale, other than a couple free resources that I found, the music, the art, the programming, the story, the everything, it's all a one-man project.
Sounds very exciting, and kudos to you. As our audience noticed, the gaming footage in the background is from your current project called MicroTale. Can you tell us more about what's this game basically all about and your initial ideas?
Well, really, I think my initial idea was sandboxing. Lots and lots of sandboxing. And, there is resource gathering in MicroTale, but not as much as I think a lot of other games out there. That wasn't my focus. I wanted you to be able to have tons of money, tons of power, tons of resources, and just build houses, build skyscrapers, build bridges, build tunnels, build airships, build complex, networks to get around from one place to the other. I wanted you to have fun, just building stuff and allowing your creativity to be unleashed, really. Another initial idea I had was I wanted a pretty decent combat system, cannons, ways you could have fun. And the main quest in the game has lots of combat in it. It's a fun quest, I feel like, and I've had some other people comment that they enjoy it. And if you beat the main quest of the game, that will unlock a game mode where you can build a special tile called the Orb of Destiny and really just go crazy, just having a good time fighting against enemies that you can summon and blow to bits. It's a lot of fun.
I'm thrilled to see this. So, as my viewers know, I have played a little bit of MicroTale Beta Build 2.0 and have a few questions about the game. Will we see an increase in the options department? For example, more resolution options, hotkey assignment, a slider for adjusting the in-game brightness, and all that good stuff?
An increase in the options department. That would be a good thing. There will be more support for resolutions. I really don't know about hotkey assignments of any sort. That'd be a cool feature, but I'm not going to make any guarantees on whether or not that'll be there. And as far as like adjusting brightness, things like those, again, really if I could go back and change more things like that, I would, but I'm not using a game engine. Everything you see is, I use the XNA framework with C#, so it's all custom built. And as a result, I should have programmed more of that in from the beginning, and I didn't, and because I didn't, it would probably be really hard to add some of the more advanced options that I would like to, but we probably won't see in MicroTale. So unfortunately, not as many options probably as you would like.
I am one of many people who appreciate the music in your game and the option to choose the next track via pressing the Alt key. That's a nice feature. Are you the creator of the soundtrack and will be more music added in the final version of the game?
Well, I'm glad that you enjoy the music. I am the creator of the soundtrack. I love music. I play music a lot. My primary instrument is piano, but really I place most of my focus in music on composition, do a lot of music writing, and there's a lot of new music that's going to be in MicroTale. Each one of the individual layers of the world now has its own musical soundtrack, and it's really cool. And I hope this doesn't disappoint you, but I've removed the Alt key feature, and that sounds terrible, and I may put it back in depending on how much more music I get to compose before the game is released. But basically the reason I did that is because now the soundtrack in the game actually matches where you are on the map and what's going on. There's boss battle music. There's music for each one of the layers. The zombie village has its own music that plays when you go there. So there's lots of new music added to the game, and I think you're really going to like it. It's much better than what was there, and should be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to your reactions to that when you play the complete game.
It's okay, because I would rather see fitting music than having this little feature. Now, some things about MicroTale itself. How many bosses will a player face till he reaches his goal in defeating the end boss called Talmareth? Are there random boss encounters, and will we see in-game what Talmareth's motivation for obliterating the world of MicroTale from mortals is?
How many bosses will somebody face? You'll face 4 bosses that you'll have to fight before your final battle. So 5 bosses in total before that you have to defeat before your final battle with Talmareth. As for random boss encounters, there's nothing like that until actually the end of the game. You can build, like I mentioned earlier, a special tile called the Orb of Destiny that basically you can use it to summon all sorts of enemies on the screen. And you can actually have hundreds, perhaps even over 1,000. I don't know, and it depends on how many orbs you build. You could. The game can process that much. Just hundreds and hundreds of enemies on the screen at the same time, and multiple bosses. They're all the same bosses that you've already fought, but you can summon them back up and fight them again, and it is crazy. It's a lot of fun. As for Talmareth's motivation for why he wants to destroy the world, that is never expressly dealt with in the game. He's bad. He's evil. Really, that's probably the vibe that you'll get as you play through the game, and that's about the only explanation I have, is he's an evil demonic force that wants to destroy the world and corrupt everybody in it. And I don't really deal with a backstory or anything on him. Maybe I can make a sequel one day, the story of Talmareth. I don't know. We'll see.
The story of Talmareth sounds pretty cool, I might admit. What would you say? How's the progression curve in MicroTale? Do you need to grind a lot of mobs to gain access to the next layer? And how important is the building part of the game for each player's progression?
The progression curve in MicroTale I don't feel like is all that bad at all. I have seen both experienced and completely non-experienced game players approach MicroTale. And both seem to have a good time, and both seem to have no problem getting through the game. As long as you figure out your resources, figure out your airships and your cannons and the combat system, which is all really quite easy, you're set to go. You don't have to do a lot of grinding. There's some points where you have to stop and level up, but I feel like most of the leveling up comes fairly naturally if you're trying to build and expand and build roadways and passages for your airships. The leveling up will come quite naturally, and especially as the game, as you progress farther down, you'll find you actually begin to level up faster. as opposed to slower, which I personally like. Leveling up is easy, you don't have to do a huge amount of grinding, and it's fairly easy to complete the game, especially if you build powerful airships. Because now in the game, airships have their own life level. You can build this massive airship and obliterate even Tolmareth without too much difficulty. So it all depends on your style of play, but the progression curve is not that bad. I really don't think so.
Sounds like good news for us noobs. So let's speak about mechanics. I have witnessed an odd thing playing against a few mobs and the first boss. Is it intended that projectiles from said monsters gain absurd speed if your distance to them increases? What are the thoughts behind this design decision, and are there more nifty mechanics in the game?
The odd mechanics of MicroTale. Yes. Yeah, the projectiles speed up the farther away you are. That's probably something I'm going to try to deal with. I've gotten so used to it that I like it now. There was a design element in that. Believe it or not, my thought was, well, the farther away you are, the faster you can shoot something. It's not really intelligent, but it's something I've gotten used to. And like I said, it's kind of cool in some ways because it gives you a reason to want to get in close, especially with the bosses, to stay close on top of them and really deal with them as directly as possible. Nonetheless, like I said, there are probably going to be some changes that I'll make to that. Part of the reason that happened as well was laziness and some sloppy math, and I didn't want to fix it. And we'll see what happens. But there are going to be, like I said, I don't know that will change just because I'm used to it. And I know some other people who have played the beta are probably used to it as well, and it's kind of cool. But there will be some other little nifty things about the mechanics in the game. I know that airships have come a long way. Their collision detection has been fixed. There were some collision detection problems there. That's been fixed. Like I said, they have their own life amount. You can see the fuel gauge clearly now. There are lots of little nifty things that I think people will enjoy while they're playing the game. And I'm looking forward to seeing reaction to it.
Sloppy math. But it's indeed very unique. So the consistent RPG part of the game allows the player to use Teknika abilities with Teknika points, aka TP. How do they work? How do players gain new abilities, and how many are in MicroTale? Also, are there different ways to acquire them?
Yes, Teknika, which I know I've had several people ask me, what is this Teknika thing and where did it come from? Basically, it's my version of Magicka. The idea behind Teknika is that it's these ancient technologies made by the Eldas or something austere like that. But you use these ancient technologies to do things that seem very similar to like what Magicka or Magic would be in other games. But I had to be different. As for gaining new abilities, the Teknika has really been changed from anything in previous betas, as far as I remember. You get Teknika now by completing the main game quest. There are 7 different Teknika abilities, and some of them are, I feel like, pretty stinking cool. There are not different ways to acquire them. The only way to get your Teknika abilities is to just play through the main quest. You have some that are offensive. You can you have Fire Blast, Ice Wind, really powerful Teknika abilities. You have the ability to restore life. There's a shield that you can, rock shell that allows you to cast kind of like a shield around you and absorb damage. So there are lots of different abilities and ways you can use them. The final Teknika ability, I won't spoil it, but it's really cool. It is super powerful. And you actually don't get that until you've completed the game, which you say, well, then what do I do with it? It's for use when you build an Orb of Destiny, and it is awesome. So I hope people enjoy the Teknika and the things you can do with them.
Great! The quest system and NPCs appeal to me. Are there more NPCs with special abilities and tasks besides the 2 that we've seen in the beta build?
Well, actually, sadly, not sadly, it's worked out for the betterment of the game. Originally, there were the special NPCs, doctors and engineers, that have actually been removed from the game, which some people I know are going to be like, shock and dismay, why would you do such a thing? You don't need them to beat the game, is what I ended up discovering. And I originally thought about making a time period where you couldn't be healed except for once every so often, etc., to stop cheating, which I know a lot of people were cheating with the doctors and engineers. But what I found out is that the recharge rate on your life in Teknika is balanced enough that you don't really need doctors and engineers to help you. You can just level up to a certain point, then you're ready to go. However, before you think, oh man, all the NPCs are gone, we have all the game citizens. They say different things. They're a little bit more useful now. And there are a lot more quest NPCs that, you have the zombie village, you've got Palos in the wilderness, you're going to have the voice down in the ocean that you talk to. An entire city's been added in one part of the map, the city of Seacrest, and you talk to the people there. So there's quite a few NPCs, and the quest is a whole lot larger with a whole lot more to do.
I'm so excited to see all these things in the game. But let's jump to the future, shall we? You've announced that the game would be released in May 2012, and additional to the PC version of MicroTale, an iPad version will be available. So how's the pricing of MicroTale, and on which distribution platforms can we buy it?
Well, yes, the hope is that it will be released in May 2012. I have played around with doing some sort of an iPad version of the game. I don't know whether or not that's going to be happening. It'd be cool. I think, honestly, I'll focus on other projects for iPad first, and then maybe see about it. Really, the entire engine and system for how MicroTale is done needs to be overhauled before I think about releasing it on any other platform, and very well would probably make huge revisions to the game before thinking about that. But like I said, hopefully MicroTale will be available on PC in May is my goal. It may be June. As for the pricing and distribution platforms, I don't know. Actually, this week I'll be beginning the process of submitting MicroTale to a couple different distributors. I would love to sit down and say, well, I really want to be on this, but I don't really want to say anything until there's a distributor that for sure is going to take the game. As for pricing, my thought is somewhere between $5 to $10. That would be my $5 to $10 US dollars. That's what I think. But again, as I work with distributors, they'll probably have a better idea. And as soon as I know, I will have that information posted at the website, Jenito.com.
Are you planning to release a multiplayer mode for your game? I have heard netcoding is expensive and difficult to realize for an indie game.
Ooh, multiplayer mode. I would love to. In fact, originally my plan was to have a multiplayer mode, and it didn't happen. Like you mentioned, yeah, the coding is... It's something I could sit down and learn and probably do, but I don't know how to off the top of my hat. So I didn't design MicroTale with enough network capabilities. It'd be really hard for me to implement it at this point, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And yeah, for an indie game, it can be a difficult thing because I have to think about servers and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's something I really know very little about. I'm mostly a single-player game guy. That's the type of games I play, and as a result, that's the type of game that I've developed. In the future, maybe I could release another version of MicroTale that I've got some great ideas for some network-type stuff and internet gaming, but that's definitely in the future, and we won't see multiplayer mode in this version of MicroTale at all.
Totally understandable. Another thing that interests me. How long would you support MicroTale with further updates, and would you use the, for the past years popular, DLC boom to deliver bigger chunks of new content for the players?
I think, again, as far as future updates for MicroTale, that's going to depend on what distribution network I go through and how flexible they are on things like that. Unfortunately, MicroTale is not super conducive to things like modding and changes or even updates per se. It's a very... It's just a big chunk of code that does stuff. So again, there's some things I feel like I've learned through this process, and future projects that I work on, I want to make them different. I can honestly say this, I do not intend on having any DLC in the matter of, pay such and such money to add something to the game. If I'm able to release an update to MicroTale or something like that, my intention would be for it to be completely free. Just want to update the game. More likely, as far as MicroTale's future, I would love to go back, restart the whole thing from scratch, move into a better game engine. I've even thought about using something like Unity 3D, go in a 2.5D direction, and really make the game the way it should be done. In that case, I would probably have to re-release it almost as an entirely different game, but if I did that, it will be worth it. If that ever happens. Right now, I gotta see where MicroTale goes.
Hopefully in the right direction. Some questions from the fans. Are you annoyed if people compare MicroTale to huge successors like Minecraft and Terraria? Do you think MicroTale will go head to head with said titles?
Minecraft and Terraria. Yes, everybody compares MicroTale to Minecraft and Terraria. I've had it called a 2D Minecraft. I've had it called the worst mod of Terraria and stuff like this. Let me start by saying this. Of course, Minecraft and Terraria inspired some elements of MicroTale. It's obvious. Of course they did. I love Minecraft and Terraria. They're both great games. I am not vain enough to think that I'm going to make a game like Minecraft and Terraria. They are awesome games. I would not try to make another Terraria. Terraria is incredible. How in the world could Daniel make another Terraria? That would be insane to even try. Minecraft is incredible. I could not make another Minecraft. You can't make another Minecraft. Will MicroTale go head to head with those titles? I don't know. We'll find out. That's not my goal. Because let me say this. Like I said, I could never make a game like that. But at the same time, MicroTale is a different type of game. It's not just Minecraft and Terraria that inspired me. Elements of Final Fantasy. My entire combat system is based off of my experience with Final Fantasy 12 and 13. So Final Fantasy inspired me. Playing the Elder Scrolls V is actually the thing that I was sitting there playing Skyrim the weekend it came out, and I was like, I'm going to make a game. And MicroTale came to mind because it was the type of game I wanted to make. Whether or not MicroTale will in any way compete with Minecraft and Terraria, I have no idea. I know some people would laugh and be like, haha, there's no way it could, and you're probably right. That's not my intention. MicroTale is just a fun game where you build stuff and you don't have to do a bunch of resource gathering, and hey, you've got airships with cannons. That's what I was all about. I wanted airships with cannons. Maybe there was a mod for those other games like that, I don't know, but I wanted it my way. And so that's really where MicroTale came from. And like I said, it doesn't annoy me when people do that, but I would just say that's not my intention. So please understand, I'm not trying to make another Minecraft. I'm not trying to make another Terraria. I wanted to make MicroTale. That's all I ever wanted to do.
That's good so. And for the record, gamers love cannons. Okay, before we finish this interview, I would like to hear if you have plans for new projects. And are we seeing an enlargement of your team if your game MicroTale will succeed? What it hopefully will be.
Future projects. I've already got 3 projects planned out actually. 2 little iPad games and another PC game that is going to be completely different from MicroTale, and it's going to be freaking awesome. It's going to be cheesy, funny, crazy. Another game that I want to work on. Don't want to spoil the surprise. All I'll say is it's going to be a first-person shooter, and it's going to be the craziest thing you have ever played. Hopefully I should be able to start development on that actually here soon. I would like to see an enlargement to the team. I already have an artist that wants to work with me if I can ever get him his portfolio of what I would like him to do. But I have had some people who are interested in working with me. There will be some enlargements to the team if MicroTale goes well, and I'm just hoping it can succeed well enough to build a basic budget for Jenito and help us get some new games out there that are going to be really cool. So like I said, the next major PC project will be more in a first-person shooter category, comedy, humor, funny, crazy. This thing's going to be insane, and I'm really excited about beginning working on it, and more information to follow at the website, jenito.com.
I can't wait. I simply can't wait. I have really enjoyed speaking with you. Thanks for taking your time for this interview. I wish you best of luck with MicroTale and your future projects.
Thank you. I've enjoyed being here, and I wish you luck as well with your continued interviews and everything you're doing at your channel. Thanks for taking time to interview me today.